Three.
Yes.
Three? Yes, three.
Well, that's also to the church.
You have to sit down there if you have to learn people.
Okay, so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, did it.
No, in that case, it was. Should I share a slide?
No.
Yes.
Should I stop?
Hey, that's that.
The top speaker is the top speaker is not yet around.
Who is the chair? Who is the chair? We don't have.
chair.
Okay, so you can start.
Hold on, my hard work.
Yes.
Because even the people are shared to log into, so I told them to
Fine. Okay, let's wait till 3:45 then.
There's possibility.
Possibility. I see you listening. It's true.
Yes. That Alaja that came in as member class. Oh, solve problem. That's a presentation. Well, hello. No, of course. Definitely the most area. I did not make it in our way there. Our IT person said I should go now. I said, now, okay.
Femi Sano is also one of the panelists.
Yes, just one more person. Femi, I did know. Joining on. Oh, he's joining on.
Hello, Mr. Femi Adedino. Good afternoon, sir. Hello, good afternoon, sir. Can you hear us, sir?
Hello.
Hello, yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, sir. Hello, Mr. Femi.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Femi. Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Femi.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. I can hear you from here.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
I can hear you, sir.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, so the session will start by 3:45. So we just open the Zoom link so that other people while we are also waiting for other attendees online.
Okay.
Okay. So, once it comes back, why other things can join along the line? So, see, figures, which makes it to.
Buy us some time. It was all time to
Okay.
enjoy the presentation. Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome us all to the session on Emerging Perspectives on Tunde Kelani. My name is Ajibola Taiwo. I'll be chairing this session. And I'm also a presenter. I have a paper in this session. I'd like to welcome the other paper presenters. I'm not sure if Professor Dr. Mr. Femi Adedino, I'm not sure which appellation to address you by, from the University of Lagos State, Lagos State University of Education. You're most welcome. Miriam, Miss Miriam Salaudin from Osun State University. You're welcome for a paper presentation. Before to start the session, I'll just be giving a very brief opening remarks about the emerging perspectives on Tunde Kelani. Tunde Kelani, as we all know, is a pioneer in the Nigerian film industry. Fondly called TK, he has made great contributions to the development and promotion of African cinema, earning him a revered place in the world of filmmaking. Throughout his career, Tunde Kelani has captivated audiences with its unique storytelling, visual style, and commitment to showcasing the rich cultural heritage of Nigeria. His films often delve into themes of tradition, modernity, and social issues, providing a thought-provoking and insightful commentary on the complexities of Nigerian society. Today, we have an opportunity to look deeper into Tunde Kelani's works, examining the impact of his films on both local and global audiences, as well as the evolving perspectives on his artistic vision and contribution to the cinematic landscape and the preservation and propagation of Yoruba culture, which ties in nicely with the theme of the LSA Conference 2024, that is African identities. If there's something that Tunde Kelani does very well, it is espousing African identities, Yoruba identity through his productions. This session has 3 papers, as I earlier mentioned. Each presenter will have 15 minutes because we are just 3, so we have more luxury of time. So each presenter will have 15 minutes to give their presentation. I think since we are waiting for other people to join, so we can give the presentation concurrently. Then after the presentations, if there are questions, suggestions, comments on each papers, they will be most welcome. So on that note, Mr. Adedino.
Okay.
Yes, you're most welcome, sir. Presenting a paper on interrogating proverbial power in Kelani's Shaworoide. You have the floor, sir.
Okay. Can I share my screen now?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I'm ready. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
I'm trying to share my screen.
It's fine.
Okay. Can you get my screen over there?
You can't get your screen unless you can send it to us via mail and share it. But there's a possibility of you also sharing from there also.
What?
Can you share your screen? Can you share your slide to us via mail? Or you can share from your hand.
All right, okay.
You can share from your hand also, and you are going to see it here.
Okay, my name is Femi Adedino. I'm a lecturer at Lagos State University of Education of Christianity, former Adeniran College of Education.
So you can see your screen. Share screen.
I'm talking about interrogating proverbial power in TK Kelani's
Mr.
Shaworoide.
Adedino, sir,
Yes.
please permit me to interrupt you. Would you like to send your presentation to us here so that we can also read along with you?
All right, I've sent it to.
You
I'll
sent
send
it?
it to. Where do I send it to? I'll send it to Lagos. Lagos Studies. Info at Lagos Studies something. I've sent it earlier.
Okay, let me check.
Okay. The IT person, please just give us a few minutes. Let the
Okay.
IT person.
I don't think it's here.
Sir, can you please resend it?
Can I send it again?
Yes, please.
All right, please. I will do that now.
Okay, I'm thinking that while we are waiting for his own to come on, can we take Miss Salaudin?
Let me send the information.
Okay.
Send it again, please.
Is this sending it? Is it? Please look at the gym. Okay. Okay.
Have you seen it?
No.
Not yet. Yes, that's what we are trying to determine. In 2 more minutes, if has it coming?
Hello?
Hello, sir. We are here. We are trying to get on the same page with you.
All right, okay.
Okay, sir.
When you're ready, just let me know.
Yes. Can you check your chat? We are dropping a message for you on the chat box, on the Zoom chat box now. So that's the email we want you to send it to. It's possible that your slide is going to the wrong email, which is why we
Okay.
can't. Yes.
Can I get the new email?
Yes, we are sending it to you inside the chat box now. It's Lagos Studies Association 12@gmail.com. Can you say it?
Hello, I've not got it. I'm trying to see. Hello, I've not got it. I'm trying to see.
Please check your chat on the Zoom. We got the message for you on Zoom. Can you see it
All
now?
right.
Yes. Mr. Dedino, please, while you are sending your slides, I think there's another slide ready. No, hers. I'll be coming last. So yes, ours is already there. So since we all have 15 minutes each, we won't want this to take too much of
Sorry,
our
I can't
time.
hear you.
So I'm saying that since we are still trying to get your slides, that maybe some other person here that already has their slide ready can just go, then you come second, sir, if you don't mind. So that will give us enough time to receive your slides, at least about 15 minutes. So, he's not getting it, Abby. Or maybe you should just make his presentation without the slide.
Sorry, I'm having some problems with my net.
Yeah. Okay, sir, please go ahead without the slide, please. If it comes in while the presentation is coming up, we'll try to catch up with you. But please go ahead without the slide, sir. Hello, Mr. Dedino. Is he still there? Hello? Maybe the network where he is. Okay, IT, sir. Let's go. That is one. So somehow we shall wait until the normal time. You're welcome. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. Okay, so Miss Miriam Salahuddin will be presenting a paper on the refined spirits, empowering the non-human world in Tunde Kelani's Tioluwanile and Kunle Afolayan's Anikulapo. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm Mariam Abiola Salahuddin from Osun State University, and I have a paper titled Define Refined Spirit. Empowering the non-human world in Tunde Kelani's Tioluwanile and Kunle Afolayan's Anikulapo. I have my abstract there, but I wouldn't want to bore us with reading that. Then these are my keywords. I have
Slide.
page 3. Yeah. So my keywords, I have cosmic balance, which presupposes that for every action in the physical world or the physical realm, there is an equal reaction somewhere else. We can say the spiritual realm. Then I have deify, conferring the status of a god on something, and reify, making something abstract, concrete. And then I have the African worldview, which essentially just deals with the way a typical African, undergoes realities on a daily basis. Let me put it that way. And I have the non-human world, which is essentially used here to mean all non-human beings with whom we share the earth, as well as the spirit plane. Those are my keywords. And then one thing we always know is that cultural productions, including films, show implications between the physical and the spiritual world, especially in African creative endeavors. There is always this kind of interrelationship or interdependence that cuts across all kinds of cultural productions, folklore, songs, films, literary text, and what have you. But essentially, I would be looking at film text, or I'm looking at film text in this presentation. And there have been arguments that there is over concentration on ritual aesthetics in Nigerian film, especially issues or themes that relate with ritual killing, money rituals, as the case may be, and some critiques based on ethnographic researches have said that this portrays the Nigerian culture in a negative light. So my argument essentially is that, well, we can say that it portrays the African or the Nigerian culture in a negative light, but again, it leads me to a kind of argument that one of the very popular African critics actually raised, that African literary criticism itself is essentially human-centered. And then I also believe that it is because these films that we are talking about, especially in Yoruba Nollywood, actually emphasize, look at the spirituality from the human-centered approach, portraying how the spiritual world is actually used at the service of the humans, not the other way around. So that is where I hinged my argument. And therefore, the focus of this paper is on the agentic roles, the agency of the non-human world, or non-human actants, as Iheka, Kajetan Iheka uses it, the non-human actants in the film. So I'm focusing on how the non-human world is empowered against the human agency in the film text. So that is essentially the focus of the paper. And the objectives, my objectives: to examine the empowerment of the non-human world in co-charting the affairs of the mundane world, as emphasized in Yoruba worldview, and then to probably debunk the narrow perspectives that underemphasize the purpose of the spiritual realm in maintaining cosmic balance. And third, to emphasize probably sustainable modes of development rooted in indigenous knowledge system. So from there, the justification for choosing the two films that I chose, well, we realized that Oluwanile by Tunde Kelani is actually a film produced in the 1990s, in 1993 essentially. And then Anikulapo by Kule Afolayan came in 2022. These two films, I believe, belong to two different generations of Yoruba Nollywood film. But however, the two foreground the ubiquity of the Yoruba worldview in Yoruba Nollywood films. So both of them essentially add aesthetic or Yoruba imagery in the text, which is one thing that runs across Yoruba Nollywood films. And then this brings refreshing perspective on the role of the non-human world, often eschewed in many Yoruba film productions, deploying this traditional aesthetics. We often see these films as humans tend to use the spiritual world for their own gains, for their own service. So that's my justification. And the theoretical framework, I am hinging it on cultural theory, essentially relying on Soyinka's mythopoiesis in myth, literature, and the African world. And the film criticism approach I'm using is the extrinsic film criticism approach, which looks at film as a sociological material. So the Yoruba worldview, in the Yoruba worldview, according to Soyinka, the present life is within the manifestations of the ancestral, the living, and the unborn. And there is a kind of cyclic relationship between all those three realms of existence, so that what happens in one actually determines what goes on in the other, kind of. So these are the concepts I will be dealing with. And there is an awareness of the differences between the stages of existence. There are differences, but there are interpolations as well, such that there is an essential gulf that lies between one area of existence and another that must be constantly diminished by sacrifices, rituals, the ceremonies of appeasement to those cosmic powers which lie the guardian of the gulf, so that things go on well for the physical world. There needs to be all these constant appeasements. That's where the ideas of our festivals and what have you comes in, and the venerations of the gods. There are people that worship their gods probably weekly, daily, annually, and all that. So it is essentially to bridge the relationship between these three realms of existence. Now, the intermediary in the Yoruba worldview between those different realms is the Ifa priests, and then cosmic readjustments. There's something we call cosmic readjustments, in which, so essentially, when humans go overboard in whatever they do, they cause a cosmic imbalance among these three realms of existence. And then for there to be balance, we need something called the cosmic adjustment, according to Wole Soyinka, such that the first step is for the human to understand that he has hurt and probably go through penance, or for he or she to, still decide that there is nothing wrong in what he or she is doing, and then the spiritual world is left to take over through retribution, like vengeance. So this is just in summary what the Yoruba view entails according to Soyinka's mythopoiesis. So now I'm moving on into my analysis. So how are the non-humans empowered in Tunde Kelani's Oluwanile? Now the film actually revolves around the contestation about commercializing a piece of land that is venerated, that is known as being sacred, and it is a communal property, and then leaving it as being a communal property where everybody venerated the deities of a particular town in the film known as Ajeigbe. So now this land is sacred. Everybody understands the fact that the land is a communal property. It is an ancestral land, which nobody can actually lay claim of owning. It is actually used for venerating the gods of this town.
Next, Professor.
Are the sentences?
Can I go on? So now that is essentially what this film revolves around. We see the issue of modernity and tradition actually clashing at some point. We had, I don't want to bore you with the story, but I just have to do a kind of brief background so that you understand where I'm coming from. So we have a Lagos businessman coming into the town, wanted the land to build his ultra modern petrol station. Whereas the agent, the person from the town who knows the history of this particular piece of land, had taken him around all other kinds of lands available. The man insisted he wanted the ancestral land because it was central to different kinds of development. But the man knew that this is nobody's land. It is the land of the gods. And so he kept on inflating the price of the land. But what happens, the man said he will get it regardless. So is individualism. Instead of, the African is communal. You respect, we are communal in nature. You respect your community. You know that whatever you do can actually bring harm to your community. But because of the huge amount of money involved, he decided to commercialize the land and lay claim to ownership of the land. But to be successful, he enlisted two other people, a chief of the town and a court bailiff. And then the history of the town was actually manipulated. So at some point in time, we had the issue of the refutation of the agency of the spiritual elements. So these characters, one of them being Ashinobi, the chief, who the agent contacted because he knew he needed somebody within the cabinet, within the king's cabinet, to be able to, manipulate the history surrounding the land and then eventually selling it. But yeah, at some point, he said there was a statement in the text by Ashinobi, this chief in question, who said he refuted the agency of the spiritual elements. He said that there are no gods. This land actually belongs to the gods. He said that he was telling Sonia, apparently the agent, that there are no gods. We are the gods, laying claim to the fact that don't worry about the land being an ancestral land. We are the gods. Nothing is going to happen. So we have that kind of reputation of the agency of the spiritual element. And then, of course, this led to a disruption of the cosmic balance because at a particular point in time, the land was finally sold. The king of the town was even taken to court over the piece of land, and then the land was cleared for commercialization, for building. So this seems to be an imbalance. It sets an imbalance for the world of the living, the unborn, the future generation, and the dead, the ancestors. So now there was what I call, looming tragedy, the warnings from Ifa. Just like I said, the Ifa is usually the bridge between the intermediary between the world of the ancestors, the living, and the dead. So there was a warning, which Ashinobi was told that he will get the repercussion for whatever he has done. He ended up through the three parts of the film trying to defy these judgments. Unfortunately, two people who saw the land actually died mysteriously. So this is where the agency came in. That is the non-agency retribution I have on the screen. That's where I situate it. The non-agency, the non-human agency took over, and then it was a form of retribution. It controlled the living. It controls the world of the living. And then we add what we can call, at the end of the day, Ashinobi died mysteriously as well. He died mysteriously as well. And then we had what I call the cosmic adjustment that was imbalanced. And then later on had the balance. And then lastly, to look at, yeah, we also had the similar thing in Nanikulapo, which revolves around the mythical belief in death and resurrection of the Eye Akala, which is the ground hornbill in the Yoruba cosmology, and which was quoted in a particular Ifa purpose, which was quoted in the film as well. Realized that Akala supposedly has the power to resurrect the dead and determines whether the dead needs to be raised or not. But now there was an abominable love entanglement between the wife of a king, which is an abomination, and a normal man of a community. So when this was found out, Saro, the protagonist, so to speak, was actually dealt with, and he was beaten to stupor, in which he later on died. Then the Akala appeared, which I said has the power to raise the dead. and then interrogated. As he was interrogating it, there was something I call the cosmic balance here, because Arolake, the supposed lover, ate it, and the power guard of the Akala fell. And then she picked it up, and the Akala already told Anikulapo, or known as Saro, to go back to death, but he couldn't go back because Arolake had disrupted that moment. So he was resurrected, but it wasn't meant to be. And then what happened after all, thereafter, is that they took the power guard and started using it for economic and material gains. They started waking up people that they do not know whether they needed to be resurrected or not, causing a kind of cosmic imbalance between these three planes of existence. And then there was looming tragedy. Again, we had the warnings from Ifa that said that they should let the man go away from the town where he eventually settled, but nothing happened afterwards because people were elated. They were happy that he had actually had the power to raise the dead, but this was abnormal. So what actually happened, we had the non-human agency, the retribution, which brings about balance in this world eventually, because Saro actually ended up meeting his Waterloo after he couldn't raise the dead son of the king of Ilu Ojuma, where he eventually settled. Now to my conclusion, the deification and reification of the spirit world in the two Yoruba Nollywood films belonging to two different filmic periods underscore the ubiquity of the Yoruba indigenous imagery in both old and new Nollywood Yoruba films. Arguably serves as a constant reminder of the roles of the non-human world in challenging human domination, greed, and avarice in the mundane world, while maintaining a cosmic balance among the different stages of existence. And well, this may offer valuable insight into the alternative ways of approaching sustainable development if we know how we can look into these indigenous knowledges to propound theories of morality against the moral decadence of different sides that we are witnessing in our society, one deeply rooted in our indigenous knowledge systems. Thank you for listening.
Right on time. Thank you very much, Ms. Salaudin. That was a very beautiful presentation. Mr. Adedino, is he online? Has he been able to send this paper? Okay, if he cannot send the paper, I think we'll take his paper without the slides.
No, I asked for the email. The email I sent it to. I want to be sure whether it's correct one.
Mr. Adedino, we forwarded it to you in the chat on Zoom. So there's can you check? Yes.
Hello,
no,
Lagos State. Is it Lagos Studies something like Gmail?
No, Lagos Studies Association 12. That's Lagos Studies Association 12@gmail.com. So if the 12 is not there, then it's going to the wrong email.
Well, I didn't get that.
Oh, we sent it to you repeatedly. So while that is going on, Mr. Adedino, it appears that since your paper is not yet in and we really would like to see your slides, I think I would go next with my own slides, which is ready. So by the time I'm through, he's saying, let him present with the slides. We are just three here.
Okay.
So please, can you help me with the stopwatch? 15 minutes. 15 minutes. So good afternoon, everyone. You're welcome again to the session on emerging perspectives on Tunde Kelani. My name is Ajibola Taiwo, and I am presenting a paper on Nollywood as a repository. Nollywood as a repository of Yoruba historical and cultural identity, a case study of Tunde Kelani's Tiolu Anele. Next slide, please. So I begin the paper by trying to introduce the relationship between history, the media, and the movies. Over time, the media has been used as an essential tool in preserving, articulating, and reporting historical events. What do I mean by that? The media is easily accessible. Before the normal media, social media, all that we have now, movies, we had books, print media, and all of that. And history has been codified in books over years. And as media evolved into other forms, easily accessible and portable enough to be carried about, so also as history evolved, the way history is stored and the way history is transmitted it has evolved over years. So the level of media involvement in historical events has turned media practitioners into first responders of sorts. So you will agree with me that, for instance, how people think about what happened in the bomb blast, 9/11 bomb blast, you agree with me that before books were written, the news that were shown and the clips were the first things that people saw. And it kind of conceptualized the things that were written from that event. So the media has now become like first responders. And unfortunately, the next slide, please. In most cases, these past events are perceived by the first few minutes that the media exposure gives. And this shows that the media plays a very important role in encoding, preserving, articulating, and disseminating historical facts, whether good or bad. This also points to the possibility of the media and movies' power to shape the narratives about certain people, as we will see later on in the Tioluani movie, how the man was able to shape the narratives of the people. Next slide, please. Yes. So one of the key words is historical identity. And the historical identity mainly just means how people, a group of people, see themselves. That is the historical identity of a people. While a cultural identity is the individual's perspective of themselves within the context of a certain society. So as an historical, when we're talking about historical identity, we are talking about shared experiences, collective memories. We are talking about events, experiences that we all went through together. You talk about wars, you talk about famines, you talk about things that a group of people encountered together, went through together, and survived together, or otherwise. That's their historical identity. While their cultural identity mainly looks at things that includes shared beliefs, their customs, values, things that can be individualized. Next slide, please. Now, introducing Tunde Kelani. I think I skipped. Okay. Depiction of movies. I think we can just move on. Let's move on, please. So movies as a repository of historical and cultural identity. We want to look at the merits and the demerits of movies as a repository of historical and cultural. What are the advantages of movies when history is told in movies for other people to refer to? Now, educationists have found that when the readings, the books that are available do not align with the movies that are created, it causes confusion for the people. And we all know that sometimes in trying to create movies, the timelines are shifted a little bit for the sake of storytelling, and it models up the history for people that really know what they're doing. So back, please. So another demerit is the oversimplification and overgeneralization of events and ideas. So something that might have multiple causes, long-term and short-term causes, will be oversimplified into something very meager. They can say it is because somebody looked at somebody one way and war started. They would not consider the political, the social, the cultural dimensions to events in history. So this oversimplification causes distortion in how history is preserved and how it is understood by posterity. Then we also have inaccurate portrayal. We have the influence of popular culture, which could lead to sensationalizing certain aspects of history, historical facts. prioritizing entertainment over authenticity, and inadequate context. There are some historical events that need adequate context. If, for instance, you do not understand Victorian era, and you see the way that they dress or the way that women are treated, then you might think that these people are patriarchal. You understand? You have to understand their society per time. So when we don't have enough context about backgrounds, we can draw wrong conclusions, and those are the demerits of movies being used to store and preserve history and culture. On the other hand, history, that's the merits. History serves as a tool to clear historical misunderstandings. So if you can get perspectives on what happened, reasons why people did what they did, you can be more tolerant, you can be more understanding of what they did. And you can actually just picture that this is the reason why they took certain actions. So things that might be considered fetish, that might be considered inhuman, you might finally find that it's not even inhuman, it is survival, it is power dynamics. Do you understand? So those are the things we are talking about. Please, next slide. I want to quickly get to the meat of the discussion. Yes, Nollywood has evolved. Tunde Kelani is doing a fantastic job in propagating, but not only propagating, also preserving and codifying Yoruba culture in such a way that people can look back and actually find elements of Yoruba culture in a very rich form, unadulterated. Please, next slide. The movie Tioluwanile, that is being studied as a case study. The study used content analysis to determine it, and these are the findings below. Luckily, my colleague has given a brief background into the movie, so I will not bore us with that. Next slide, please. So presentation of the elements of Yoruba historical and cultural identity in the movie. One of the very things I love about the movie is the language. But it was not just the language, it was the fact that every scene had a proverb, an idiom. It had something very unique to Yoruba people. You understand? So the language was very rich, such that a Yoruba speaker that understands Yoruba could easily relate with it. But somebody that does not even understand Yoruba, maybe a researcher or a learner, can look at those things and those proverbs and see their context, how they are being used. So it is it's a very good tool. You can see that has preserved Yoruba language. But not only the preservation, it is also teaching the use, the context of those proverbs, how those proverbs are being used in the Yoruba context. Then the costume, the fabrics that were used, ashoke, and adire and other. Yes, there were other contemporary styles of the time, like jacquard and all of that. But one thing that I loved about the costume was that the protagonist, Ashiyobi, that's the Otun chief, he wore traditional native throughout. And I'd always wondered about the functionality of the natives, the Kembe, the Bariye. And then the movie showed me how it could be done, how you can wear Bariye as a man going to work or going about your daily living. So we can see that has also exposed us to how these attires that we would only see maybe as in parties or as traditional regalia for certain outfits, how they were used in daily life in times past. Please, next slide. The central message of the movie is that it displays the challenges that a greedy and manipulative person attracts to himself, because the protagonist was an antithesis of the Yoruba ethos of Omoluabi. He was greedy. He did not care about the community. All he cared about was himself. And so the movie displayed all the evils that would befall somebody that thought only of himself. Because, like my colleague said, Africans are inherently communal. And so we think of us first before we think of me. But Ashiyobi was thinking of only himself, and he brought a lot of terrible things to himself. He was running from pillar to post, trying to defy death. And so So it also brought to the fore the possibility of distortion in oral history. Now, there was a portion in the movie where Ashiyobi said, "Tioluwanile ati àwọn tó mọ ìtàn ẹ̀." not Toluwanile àti Ẹ̀kúnrẹ́. So it distorted it. It took a story that was non-existent and gave ownership of an ancestral land to somebody else for his own commercial gain. So that brings to fore the possibility of distortion. That's to oral tradition. When it comes to origin of societies in Yoruba land, issues like chieftaincy titles, land ownerships, even political issues, we have seen it over time that people will distort things because they want to get ahead. Can we go to the next slide, please? How am I doing for time? 4 minutes. Okay. Then songs. In the movie, songs are very important to Yoruba community, to Yoruba society. And Ashinobi used songs very well. First time he used song in the movie, he sang to Kabiyesi Foríjì mi ẹwà nǹkan ṣe. He was appealing to the king to save him. Now, one would say, why would the king save you? But in Yoruba land, we know that the king is always seen as second in command to gods. So the king had direct access to the gods. So by begging the king to intervene in his matter, he knew that he could find succor. And yes, the king kind of intervened and exiled him instead of allowing him to die. And there he was able to sort himself out. The second time was when he was lamenting about the situation, and as he was singing, somebody saw him and helped him out. Now, next slide. Religion. Ifa is central to Yoruba culture, not only as a religion, but as a way of life. And this was proudly displayed in the movie when they were about to, at every point in time, even when Ashinobi had made the mistakes he made, he went back to Ifa. And Ifa told him that this is how to go about it. Leave your natal home. So the importance of Ifa was proudly displayed. Another thing that was displayed was the communal name was another thing that was displayed there. How Yorubas are very particular about their names. For instance, there was a scene where the king asked the last speculator, what's your father's name? And he mentioned his name and he traced his origin. And up to now, you will hear the Shodikos of Egba land, the Ononugas of Ijebu land. That is who we are as Yoruba people. And this movie has been able to codify that. It was a subtle message, but it was there that we can trace our lineage through names. And whether that will continue, we do not know because of the changes that are happening. We have a lot of Jesu babies and stuff, but we know that for those that are deeply rooted, you can always find your way back. Next one, please. Then parties. This one I love. Parties in Yoruba land then, where the life of the party, we would have 2-3 parties in a day. In a day, sometimes the land was blocked, and the movie codified this also. It also showed it how parties were held and how the nightlife was very bubbly and how streets were closed at a time. But after a while, the President Shehu Shagari regulated closure of roads, and then that no longer happened. Next slide, please. So present day, Toluwanile as a movie that aims to preserve historical and cultural identity, remains one of the best-selling movies for its time. So the first part of the movie was put on YouTube, and even for a movie that we can say was a little bit of low quality, it had 121,000 viewers. And people that watched the comments, somebody said, this movie gave me nightmares. And then I wondered what gave me nightmares then. I remember that there was a place where Ashinobi was going to die, and he kept on fighting death. It was as if he was going to cross the river. So the river that he was crossing codified that it meant that he still had an option. He could cross over the bridge or not, and he kept running back. But the time that he died was when he walked through a door and the door shut behind him. That was a permanent situation. He could not open the door from the other side. So those things were codified. They are Yoruba things that it is. You will understand that when you have crossed over, you have crossed over. When you still have option, like a cat that has 9 lives, is because the cosmic environment is still in your favor. Next slide, please. New experiences, because the movie is on the internet now, even though it codifies, even though it's an old movie that talks about life in Nigeria in the 1980s and 1990s, the movie is open to other demography. So we don't have further analysis on what all those people that have seen the movie, but we know that more people are watching the movie and people are responding. We have different responses from different people that are seeing it for the first time, people that are not even Nigerians. Conclusion. Yes. So to this end, the movie Toluwanile by Tunde Kelani has done a lot to preserve Yoruba culture and historical and cultural identity through different means. Now, there are other challenges that are outside the scope of this paper, which is Nollywood as a whole, how the Yoruba culture is portrayed negatively in Nollywood. But that, while it's in my conclusion on there, but I'm out of time, so those are outside the boundaries of this discussion. Thank you for listening. Yes, so the paper. Okay, so I think we are ready for Mr. Dedino. Great, Mr. Dedino, we have your presentation now. And the first shall be the last. Yeah.
Well,
yes, so we are ready for you, sir.
Can I start?
Yes, please.
All right. My name is Femi Adedino. I lecture at Lagos State University of Education, former Adeniran Ogunsanya College of Education. I'm a creative writer and a film director. Now, I'm not seeing the PowerPoint on the screen here. Are you seeing it over there?
Yeah, we can see it here. We already downloaded it. Did we download this? So you can view your own screen. Oh, okay.
So can I use my?
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it now. All right.
Fantastic.
Okay. I'm talking about interrogating proverbial power in Tunde Kelani's Shaworide. And my paper is divided into 4 sections. The first one is the conceptual clarification. The second one is looking at the relationship or the nexus between theme and proverbs and between theme and society. And then I have a conclusion. Please, next slide, please. Next slide. Now, but there are some questions we need to ask. What are proverbs? What are the functions of proverbs in the society? And what's the position of proverbs in Yoruba society? And also, what's the relationship between proverbs and themes? Let's go to the first one. What is a proverb? Or what are proverbs? Proverbs are known by everybody, but not everybody can explain its meaning and its origin. That's Gavogian 2009, page 14. Many paragraphers, that is proverb scholars, have tried to define proverbs and say a lot about it. But for this paper, next slide, please. Next slide, please. For this paper, we are using Appiah Aje's 2014 description of or definition of proverb as short, pithy statement or pieces of traditional wisdom, philosophy, or advice which have passed into general use from generation to generation. That is, it is from the past to the present. They are often expressed in metaphor, rhyme, or alliteration, and refer to some common human experience. They are often satirical or mocking in intention. Almost 95% of traditional proverbs are written in verse. Some of them are contradictory, and in order to better understand them, one should bear in mind that they express the outlook prevailing some centuries ago. But nowadays, that has been updated. Next slide, please. Next slide. What are the functions of proverbs in the society? Proverbs perform so many functions, which includes education, entertainment, cultural values transfer and dissemination, commendation of good deeds, and condemnation of bad actions, along with moral teaching. When we use proverbs, we use them to strengthen our arguments, to express generalizations, influence or manipulate other people, rationalize our shortcomings, question certain behavioral patterns, and satirize social ills, or poke fun at ridiculous situations. Next slide, please. There are other functions, and those functions are the ones I listed: figurative expression, instrument for transmission of culture, it reflects the ethnography of the people. And next slide. But what's the relationship between proverbs and film? Proverbs serves as the wisdom of ages gone by, based on observations and generalization about basic human behavior and the trials and tribulations of human life. But if you look at it, film reflects society, reflects characters within society and the actions of those. So, and proverbs also do the same. So you find out that films use proverbs. Why? They use proverbs as a means of thematic development, narrative, delineation of character, representation of actions, and Ayodabo 2016 explained this further. When he looked at the history of proverbs in Nigerian movies, and he traced it down to the time of Latola films, Carpenny films. Those were the first set of films that were made that were shot in Nigeria by Nigerians. Next slide, please. The cinematographer or the director, Tunde Kelani, he was born in Lagos. He moved to Abeokuta, where he lived with his grandfather, where he became immersed in Yoruba tradition. He worked at WNTV and has produced many Yoruba films in conjunction with others, and after some time by himself. Next slide, please. What are the particulars of these films? The director is Tunde Kelani. The cast includes Kola Oyewo, etc. The plot was set in a city called Jogbo, and it was released in 1999, and the duration was 405 minutes, and the language was Yoruba. Next slide, please. But what happened? The story is very simple. A new king comes in to Jogbo, Lakpite. But then, Jogbo kings will always have to swear an oath and take incisions so that they will be able to serve the society. But Lakpite wanted to serve himself, so he refused. He refused to take the decision, refused to take the oath. But then, those things do have repercussions. But at the time, those who told him did not tell him those repercussions. Please move it up to the next slide. Next slide, please. What are the functions of proverbs in Shaworide? The functions were as follows. They serve as narrative device. They serve as social commentary. They serve as cultural values transmission. They reflect the power structure and hierarchy within the society. They were incorporated into dialogue and as means of imagery and symbolism. They delineate the characters, and they serve as instruments of warning and admonishment. Next one. Some of the proverbs, I didn't list all because of the exigency of time. Some of the proverbs are the one listed and the period in which they come into the film. Next slide. So I will analyze just three. The first one is Agbaja kò gbọdọ̀ ba awo jẹ́. Tí ajá bá ba awo jẹ́, awo ajá gan là á lò. Now, the setting of this proverb was during the oath taking, during the Ipebi, in Yoruba land, there's a time when the king to be will be prepared. While Lakpite was being prepared, they now told him there's something we have to do. You have to take an oath, you have to take an incision. And since he did not want to do that, he now threatened the priests. After threatening them by pointing a gun at them, he now warned them that what has happened in Ikpebi must not be heard outside. And so, to him, the proverb shows the nature of Lakwite even before he became a king, even before ascending the throne. That is a dictator and a tyrant who lives on intimidating and threatening people. In this scene, he used a gun to silence the priest and to confirm that they will not snitch on him. The Awo and the Agbaja, we must not reveal our secret, or they will be used. That is, they'll be wasted. Next slide. The second proverb I'll be analyzing is Eyo Dedeba Lorule Oro Leyembo. That happened 12 minutes, 30 seconds. The proverb setting, Balogun made Baba Palamba. Baba Palamba is the character that stays on the staircase to the palace. And when he stays there, he pretends in order to gather, it's like an intelligence agent who gathered information. The proverb in the film reveals Baba Palamba's personality and nature as a wise old man who waits and remains innocuous in order to gather information. In this scene, he pretends to be asleep in order to hear what those who pass him by are saying. For example, Balogun, thinking that he was asleep, said he should go and stay, he should go back home and die. And then he now replied. If we look at the function, the proverb reveals Baba Palamba as a wise man who stays in the background in order to ferret out information. The proverb also explains the reason for his being in position on the staircase to the palace. We hear what those going in and out of the palace are saying. It's retort to Balogun, which is another proverb. When Balogun said, Baba, something he retorted, he said, Ìwọ náà ò bí mi, ìbéèrè tí a bá béèrè là á dáhùn. It's another proverb of holding the maximum of mind your business. The third proverb, Afi ọmọ àparò hábẹ́ à ń gbìkà. This was by Lakwite when they came to tell him that Ayangalu has escaped, and he reached a conclusion that a member of his cabinet must have informed him.
Sir, you have 5 minutes more.
That's what led Ayangalu to escape. Now, let us look at the function of the proverb in the film. The proverb refers Lakwite's mind as a killer and also distills him in his cabinet. It serves as admonition and warning to Balogun and others. The Akparo that is put under the handpiece, Abe, is the spy in Lakwite's cabinet. This was shown earlier in the film when Ayangalu was warned off by one of the chiefs. The corn that is being planted, Angbika, is the various strategic meetings held by Lakwite with his chiefs, where confidential issues will have been discussed. The symbolism in the proverb is that after some time, Akparo, partridge, will be released from Abe, and then it will pick up the corns planted, making the exercise a waste. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the proverbs used in Sharawede are significant. They are significant in the sense that they contributed greatly to the understanding of the film by viewers. Secondly, they also serve as vehicles of cultural transmission to non-Yoruba and Yoruba viewers alike. The structure of the film, characterization within the film, and the film's thematic concerns were well enunciated through the proverbs. The narration of the story within the film became deeper through the proverbs used, because as we come across each proverb, we're able to get explanations for the various actions taken by characters, as well as the unfolding of the story frame by frame. The proverbs serve dual role of commendation and condemnation at appropriate times in the film. The transfer of wisdom in each proverb as used contributes more to our comprehension of the film story, the film's action, and the personalities within the film. The intricate and many layered meanings within the proverbs helps us in increasing our appreciation of elders' wisdom and their use of metaphors. A good example is about Palamba and its perception of whatever is going on in Jogbo Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adedino. You were right on time. I think you even have a few minutes to spare. And that is the end of the third presentation. We have only 3 papers in this session, and so we'll be going on to the question and answer session. Do we have anybody? Do you have people joining us online? One person. Okay. We say hello to our online participants. In the room here, do we have questions, comments about the papers that have just been presented? Okay, you're recognized, sir.
Well, let me start by
Please introduce yourself so that we know. Let's meet you. Okay.
From the newspaper. So let me start by appreciating the presenters who really doing justice to their paper. My first question is for the first presenter. I think I came in late, so I didn't get the beginning of the paper. So I just wanted to tell you what is the argument? What is the argument? What are you arguing in the paper? That's my question for the first presenter. Then for the second presenter, I think you didn't tell us about methodology. You didn't tell us about theory.
The methodology was there. Maybe you I told. As a content analysis, there was a portion there. Yes, I used content analysis for the listening. Yes. The theories are in the full body of the paper. It's still a work in progress. Yeah. So maybe I'll work on expatiating more. Yes.
Yes. You didn't tell us about the theory. You didn't tell us about the methodology.
Yes. Well, did you study history? Did you study history?
No,
history perspective. Yes. I'm an historian. So historians don't theorize. Historians, yes. Yes, it's because this is an historic. I think I must say that I wrote the piece from a purely historical perspective. So you see me talking about historical identity and cultural identity. In history, we don't theorize. Although now contemporary history is now evolving. That's why I picked it down. That if there's a way that I can incorporate it into it, but originally as we were taught.
Sorry.
Yes.
No. This is more like an interdisciplinary engagement.
Yes, it is.
That's a big study. Don't you think a theory should account for the thing in your study? Just a suggestion.
Yes, which is why we have conversations like this, which is why it has been taken down. Thank you very much for your contribution. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. I think the basic argument of my paper, like I said before you came in, is the fact that the human-centric approach of Nollywood films, even from the writing, from the scripting of the films to their criticism, are usually human-centered, which makes people think that the Yoruba culture or the traditional aesthetics within the film are actually portraying the culture in a negative light. So I shifted into looking at the agency of the non-human world. So actually say that the Yoruba worldview is not essentially negative. They are there for a reason in balancing the physical world. So I think that was just the basic argument.
Are we clear? Do we have any more questions, please? Comments, suggestions? Do we have anything online? Anybody?
I have a suggestion for Dr. Adedino.
Okay. Dr. Adedino,
okay. Hello,
Yes,
sir. Okay, I have a suggestion. I think I'll recommend that you also take a look at the post-proverbial theory by Raji Oyelade. I think it has something to do with your topic, so it will give you a deeper perspective about this particular topic. Just a suggestion.
All right, thank you.
So, yes, I'm looking at the room right now and I don't see any indications that there are more questions. I hope, sorry? You came in late. Thank you all for your time and attention here today. And thank you for the opportunity giving us audience to sound up our ideas. Thank you for the inputs. And Dr. Adedino, thank you for the paper presented. Ms. Alaudin, thank you. I'm permitted to thank myself too. Thank you. So I think on that note, we have come to the end of this session on emerging perspectives on Tunde Kelani. Thank you all for coming and enjoy LSA 2024.
I also want to
Why did you not talk?
because I mean,
Are you not going to say
because the team is more imagine like how can we contemporarize the today's algorithm to what you are experiencing politically. I think I didn't see that in your discourse. I mean, because
Emerging portion, right?
and the emerging portion is very more important in the proverb. Because I didn't follow part two.
mo rí wa àti dúpẹ́ tẹ́ rí jáde.
No.
Oh,
You have to unmute himself. Can you mute yourself?
ẹ ṣé o. Ẹ ṣé gan.
So because I mean politically those programs they are still what we are also experiencing now.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine something because that they do put that Baba and they will also equate him to what is going on in this current political era.